Hello, every pony, and welcome back to Fandom Fridays, where we proceed to check out all the fanfics that are not pony related. Why? Because in all the discussions about Digimon versus Pokemon in their respective franchises, nobody ever seems to say which is better. Monster Rancher? Personally, I want to take Spoony's position and be the a-hole who says during a conversation between Digimon and Pokemon, Monster Answer, and see how often I get beaten up. To be fair, I do the same as Star Trek versus Star Wars conversations. I'm the a-hole who says Babylon 5. And as promised, today we are looking at Digimon. Mykan! Anyway, I was looking really hard. Mykan! I was looking really hard through some of the fanfics, and I thought, Mykan! Guys, no. I can't keep doing Mykan fics every time. Besides, I don't feel like doing any bad stories today. I really want to enjoy myself. Let's save doing Mykan for when we want to do a really, really bad fic, or we found out that we've been doing too much enjoyment of good stories lately. So instead, do a man Sora! What? Do a Toy Sora! Guys, do a Ken and Yali! Well, I love the relationship, but do a Daikari! Do a TK Akari! Guys, do a Rika Renamon! That's just wrong. Shame on you. Do a Mimi and Sora! Hey! Well, I went my. Ow! 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 Getting off topic. Guys, let's not forget what the point of this show is. It's to help show that not all fanfics are Mary Sue, self-insert, laden wanks fest about this one special person who's better than everybody else, or, oh look, my favorite character is so much better than anybody else, bow before me and kiss my feet. And that not all fanfics are ship fics. This is why I say to show all fanfics outside of the pony fandom, because, well, quite frankly, the brony community has produced some of the best fanfics I've ever seen in my life, and they're usually consistently good. And I want to show that it's not just pony that I can show that with, but there are other fandoms that can have just as good stories, like, say, Sonic fandom or Digimon. And so far I've been successful. I mean, Witch so far has had a pretty good track record, and so has Jason. And I'm pretty positive I could probably find a good Son Amy if you gave me a chance. But right now, I want to show that with Digimon. So, I was looking at the nets, and I found this interesting one for the original team. Yep. Now, you might be wondering another reason I wanted to go for the original team, the original 7. I've been watching Digimon try. It is awesome. Go see it. So, without any further ado, here is a reboot by... Oh, I hate it when you try to get fancy with your freaking screen names, guys. Snickle... Smuckers, Snickledooger? Snickledooger. We're gonna go with that. By Snickledooger. Enjoy here at the Treeberry Memorial Library. Reboot. By Snickledooger. Chapter 1. Rewind. Matt stares at Ty laying so deathly ill in the hospital bed and wonders if the outcome would have been the same if he had only tried to reach out a bit further. The silence in the room is suffocating, only being broken by the sound of Ty's slow, rhythmical inhaling and exhaling and the beeping of his heart on the monitor. Moonlight is streaming in through the window, casting several light on his friend's already pale face and shining on the long, horizontal row of stitches running across his forehead, was seen to glare up at him accusingly. Overhead, The air is filled with war cries as their clash with their foe, and the enemy's attack rains down a hailstorm of blood-red droplets from the sky, leaving scorching, carnivorous black holes everywhere it touches. Matt lets his gaze wander down further along the expanse of Ty's body, most of it covered by the white hospital blanket, but a few limbs remain exposed. Ty's left arm is encased within a plaster cast and tucked into a sling across his chest. Frightfully humorous, he recalls the doctor saying, if Ty had been awake to overhear his diagnosis, he would have laughed and said something like, "Ah, I've already gone and broken my funny bone this time, huh, Matt?" But Ty hadn't spoken at all. He hadn't even screamed when it happened. The battle races above them in a furious onslaught, and the earth beneath them trembles violently as it splits widely in two, unable to handle the pressure, a narrow fissure growing increasingly larger as it speeds towards them. Ty's right leg hangs in traction, shattered in 3 places. The only thing holding it together now is a bundle of titanium rods and screws. The skin is swamped with angry, red-purple bruises from the surgical staples. 2 months for the bone to bend, the doctor told him. 2 more months for rehabilitation. And that is only to ensure he would be able to walk again. Playing soccer may not be a possibility. Too early at this stage to be certain, the doctor had stayed so aggravatingly calm. 3 cracked ribs, eternal bleeding, blunt head trauma. They had told the hospital staff he had been hit by a car. They're climbing up a sheer cliff wall, and would have almost reached the summit. A misplaced foot, a lost grip on a handhold. Ty catches her as she slides backwards. Twin spears of moldering flames slam into the mountainside around them as he cries out in alarm and fear. It wasn't his fault, they tell him, but Matt can see our Ty's pupils widening into pinpoints. His chocolate brown irises portraying utter shock as he realizes. Matt reached the top now, and everyone is clambering around the edge, peering over in concern as the two have yet to ascend safely. Matt lowers his upper half as far as it will go over the side, and feels hands behind him, bracing his legs in support. He extends both hands towards them, a horrible, panic feeling welling up in his throat. She is blaming herself. She hadn't stopped crying since the moment it occurred. She had kept a constant vigil at his side. Even now, she is slumped over in a chair by the bed, finally asleep by complete exhaustion, her hands steadfastly clutching Ty's limp, unresponsive one. Matt fleetingly entertains the notion of hating her, but it doesn't last. She may have been the one who had effectively obstructed Ty from reaching the top, but Matt had been mere inches away, and let the opportunity save him slip from his fingers. Ty pushes her forward, and Matt grabs her by both wrists and basically lifts her up until he feels someone else relieve him from the burden of her weight as they pull her to firm ground. Then he drops himself back down and reaches for Ty, who stretches out his hand in effort to meet his. Now, he is only clinging onto a crack of the cliff wall with one arm. Was there anything else he could have done? Looking back, reflecting on it, he still can't see how things could have turned out different. Because no matter how far he strains his arm or stretches out his hand, the fact remains that Ty had chosen not to grasp hold of it. Ty's fingertips brushes briefly, but the weight of his unbalanced body sends him swinging backwards in a dangerous manner. The rock around his handhold quivers slightly, and Matt knows he only has one more chance to reach his friend before something terrible happens. Pressure's taking off his legs as one pair of those hands that held him securely wraps around the waist of their owner. If we were afraid, he would pitch face first off the cliff. He can feel the worry, fear, and tension in their firm yet gentle grip. A pair of hands he knows all too well. Matt thinks Ty's eyes will forever haunt him, and he can still vividly recall the flash of hurt and betrayal imprinted across his friend's face as he take in the sight of the person behind him in that horrible, life-altering moment when Ty had frozen with shock, faltering for one failed second to take his outstretched hand. Then an explosion of rocks and foundation right out from under them. Ty didn't scream as he plummets to the earth ground sharply. He doesn't scream as though to be seized with terror. He's falling like a bird that had lost its gift of flight. He's falling. The distance between them expands every 100 feet, and Matt still stretches out with one hand, But now all he can grasp is emptiness. Ties falling, and the ground below is the only thing that is there to greet him. In a coma for who knows how long. Possible amnesia when he awakes, if he awakes. Cannot rule out brain damage. But on the positive side, he is showing active brainwaves, the doctors tell him. Trapped in a world of nightmares, Matt thinks, and the guilt shreds at his soul. In her chair by the bed, Kairi stirs and murmurs her asleep, asking her brother for forgiveness. Matt's cell phone vibrates, and one glance tells it to be Sora, calling for an update on Ty's condition. In his mind, he can see her hands wrapped around her own phone in a firm yet gentle grip waiting for an answer. But he cannot give it. How could he have called himself Ty's friend when he hadn't even seen the pain he had been causing him for so long? And he wonders if the outcome would have been the same if he had only tried to reach out a bit further. Chapter 2. Erase. How is he? Matt asks her when the two of them emerge on one of their rare visits outside to meet with him and his brother. He can hold the chopsticks correctly now and doesn't drop them anymore. He finished off Mom's entire tray of liver sticks yesterday. Kairi says and begins laughing. But it's not amused laugh at all. It borders on hysterical, bubbles out of her throat, and a mixture of hiccups and strangled sobs. Matt sits his weight awkwardly, unsure of what to say or do to comfort her, and is grateful for TK, who takes her into his arms and lets her cry into his chest. Matt knows why she's upset. A normal Tai would have known how to hold chopsticks, and wouldn't have cared how to properly use them, and spear his through one end quite rudely. A normal Tai would never have eaten his mother's strange food inventions, knowing that they were hazardous to one's health. But Tai hasn't been his normal self for 3 months now. The day Tai finally wakes up is on Sunday morning, following the horrible accident, and everyone has gone to check up on him and on their free day, so they are all there the moment Tai faintly stirs and opens his eyes. Is he doing all right in his coursework? Matt presses for a lack of a better topic. He knows he should just let the subject go. He's only making things worse by reminding her and TK. Is glaring him over at the top of his head. But he has to know. He has to know how Ty's doing, even if he is different now. He is still alive, and for that he is grateful. He got a B on his last literature essay, Kairi says dully, and Matt understands the unsaid words. Ty had always been abysmal in literature. He had claimed for have bar fairer things to do than sit around trying to unravel the many mysteries behind the Shakespearean language. Matt can remember their teacher calling him up earlier that year to please refrain from doodling soccer diagrams all over his homework. Nowadays, Ty doesn't come to school anymore. He stays home and learns the material himself through independent study and a private tutor. The school says that would make things easier for him, and he could go at his own pace instead of trying to keep up with his classes. Matt knows the minute he casts sight at Ty's vacant, expressionless eyes that something is wrong. Ty! Kairi exclaims, relief and joy spreading across her face as she bends over him. You're all right. I'm so sorry, Ty. I didn't mean to slip. It's all my fault. Ty blinks slowly, his gaze appearing to pass by her as if she were a wholly uninteresting, inanimate object, and casts a long look around the room at his captive audience, then turns to his sister, who was waiting expectantly for him to speak, and stares at her as if he had never seen her before in his life, and utters one word. Who? The group walks in silence to their destination. They're meeting the rest of the Digidestined at the soccer park, and Matt can hear the unspoken question resounding silently throughout his brother's and Kairi's mind, the same as his. Will Ty remember when he sees the game being played? Matt pushes the fact that Ty still hadn't regained one single memory before the accident, even with his room plastered with pictures of soccer sports stars, and his uniform and equipment strewn out in an untidy heap to the back of his head. Familiar things, the doctors had told them. Familiar things and routine would be the best cure for amnesia brought on by blunt head trauma. They could prescribe medication for the pain. However, recovering lost memories is a totally different matter. Kairi stands still in shock as she stares down at her brother, her crimson and brown eyes glowing the size of the marbles, as she snaps and loses it completely. Ty! It's me! Kairi! Your sister! Kairi! Does you remember me, Ty? Ty! So he has a hold of his hospital gown and is shaking the front frantically, heaving in giant gulps of air as an odd, whistling sound spills forth from her lungs, and Matt realizes with a kind of creeping horror that she is having an asthma attack. Whoa. That is something we haven't had Kairi deal with at all of Season 2. Honestly, now that I think about it. Yeah, we haven't seen Kairi have to suffer her usual sickness throughout all of O2. Could have been a cool plot point. Tai is a short distance ahead on him, leaning on Kairi for support, and Matt notes with a pang of remorse that his gait has a slight limp to it. The rehabilitation has done him good. His left arm has healed, the bone in his leg mended well, and he no longer needs to use crutches. However, the rods and screws of it have not been removed. The doctors want to leave them in a bit longer to help his leg grow stronger. It's the first time in a while that Tai has ventured outside the world of his apartment. Trips to the doctor and rehab sessions. Everyone treads lightly around him as if he were made of fragile glass. He is unnaturally quiet and polite, and makes small talk whenever someone clumsily tries to initiate him into a conversation. It is like Digimon had succeeded in making a copy of one of them and deleted the original. Matt wishes Tai would slug him, yell at him, and claim it was his entire fault for shattering his dreams. And yet a small, ashamed part buried deep within him is unabashedly happy that Tai can't remember the reason why he should hate him. Matt visits Tai only once after he is released from the hospital. It is a month since the accident and hasn't talked to him at all. And his consciousness gnaws at him until he finds himself standing on the threshold outside the Kamiya residence, pressing the buzzer. The door opens and Tai is there before him, wearing a black walking cast boot on his leg, an arm in a sling, staring blank at him as if he were another door-to-door salesman. Then, a tiny spark of recognition lights up in his eyes, but before Matt can get his hopes up too high, Tai says, "My sister isn't here right now." Tai remembers him from the hospital room, of course, and though he is no doubt unable to remember his own family even, living them a couple of weeks must have made him more comfortable calling them that. "I, came to see you, actually," Matt says. "Why?" Tai asks. A confusion is evident in his voice. "Because we're friends." Matt draws off lamely, feeling like a total lie has sprouted from his lips. "Friends," Tai echoes, rolling the word around on his tongue as if it was foreign, and Matt wonders if he had forgotten what that means also. "I see. We were friends before." Tai nods more to himself than to Matt, as if trying to convince himself that this was normal and gestures for him to come inside. Matt takes off his shoes at the entrance and follows Tai down the hallway and watches him seat himself on the living room sofa, his attention now solely focused on the television in front of him, apparently having forgotten about his guests in the space of less than a minute. Matt sits down next to him, idly tapping his thumb against the armrest, and struggles to find the right words. But what can he say? Tai doesn't remember falling off a cliff wall. Tai doesn't know the person who could have spared him so much pain and suffering as a mere foot away. Tai doesn't remember anything about the digital world, being a Digidescent, or even his own Digimon. He believes the same story that they had told the doctors about being hit by a car, and the others see no point in revealing the truth. He wouldn't understand anyway. Matt wants to apologize. He wants to get down on his knees and beg for forgiveness for not being able to reach him in time, for being so blind for so long, and not being able to see his feelings for... But he says nothing, because there is nothing to say, and sits in silence along the shell of a person who was once his friend, and wishes he had never come. They reach the soccer field, and see Ken and Davis kicking the ball around, while the rest of the Digidestined watch from their stands. Sora's the first to spot their arrival, and races up to the concrete stairs. Matt stiffens as he approaches. He's been avoiding her as much as possible these past few months, without trying to be too obvious. Sora assumes he is distraught, and wisely gives him space. She has no idea he can't bear looking at her without guilt flaying him alive, as well as a dash of resentment. He can't help but wonder if she hadn't appeared over his shoulder, and concerned for him in that fateful moment on the cliff. Would he have managed to grab Ty's skin? But he already knows the answer to that question. "Hello, Ty," Sora says, carefully in a manner that someone coaxes a timid kitten out from under a bush. Ty acknowledges her presence with a slight tilt of the head, but that is all. To him, she just represents another countless name and face to remember, a leftover from his previous life that lies shrouded in shadow. Matt sees Izzy, Joe, and Mimi slowly making their way towards him, pausing a few steps below. Yoli and Cody hover uncertainly behind them, giving the elder kids the chance to have their reunion. There are several seconds of uncomfortable silence when no one is quite sure what to say. Then Ty speaks first. "That," he says, his eyes engrossed on the field below as he watches the figures of the two boys run around, kicking a white and black checkered ball. "That game, it's soccer." "That's right," Kairi says softly. "You used to play it." But she doesn't ask if he remembers anymore, and slightly doubts he does now. He probably recognizes it from the plethora of soccer material enshrined in his room. But her brother's eyes shine with a sharp, attentive glow that she hadn't seen in months. A small flicker of hope flares in her chest. "Heads up!" Everyone's heads shoot up at the warning shout in time. It sees the soccer ball spiral upwards in a wide, off-target arc that begins its descent to the ground and a speeding hurtle towards them. "Oh, I want to pause here and just point out, normally when you see the dub names, you usually run in terror or try to get out of the thick. You didn't for this one." "Oh, that's a pretty good reason. When it comes to Digimon, when it comes to the heroes' Japanese names, I admire how, for the most part, they take the Japanese names and shorten it or somehow manipulate the Japanese words into sounding American. So Taichi now is Tai, Yamato, Matt, Takaru, TK, Sora, duh, Mimi, duh, Josuke, Joe. Heck, even Kosuro Izumi is Izzy. I don't see how they were able to do it with Yali and Cody, since I've seen their Japanese names and they don't really match to their more American ones. So, yeah, in this case, I just kind of go, eh. Matt sees it in slow motion, the ball millimeters away from whacking Kairi in the head. Tai stepping in front of her, his body tense in preparation, his uninjured leg striking out with impact solidly against it, sending the ball hurtling back down the soccer field in a magnificent kick. He gapes in wonder at the spectacle, aware of everyone doing the same. And Tai's face has gone ashen, as if he could not believe what he had just done. "Daiichi-senpai!" Davis calls out as he sprints up the stairs. "However, I'm docking a point for the random use of Japanese terms. 10-yard penalty." "That was awesome! You haven't forgotten how to play soccer, right?" Something is wrong, though. Tai is staring at the soccer ball tucked under the boy's arm, with an expression of fear and mingled horror. Violet trembles his frame and his breathing becomes fast and uneven as he hyperventilates, a sickly sweat breaking out across his forehead. "Tai!" Kairi cries, gripping him in alarm. "What is it? What's the matter?" "Maybe he's remembering something," Davis exclaims excitedly. "Hey, go kick the ball again." "Leave it alone!" Kairi screams, whirling on him wrathfully. Her face an angry red, and Davis backs away hastily. I don't," Tai chokes out. brown eyes wild and unfocused, his hands clutching at the sides of his head. I don't remember. Maybe it's the reality in 3 months, living with a blank slate and having to start over from scratch, finally sinking in all at once. Maybe the fact that his body has moved seemingly of its own accord has forced Tai to realize there was a time when things and people around him had meaning in his life. Maybe a lost, long forgotten memory is trying to break to the surface of his mind, and he is subconsciously repressing it for some reason. In any case, looks like Tai is going to collapse away for a moment under the strain. Let's go home, Tai, Kairi says, sounding like she is holding back tears. You'll feel better soon. They watch them leave without protest. The day having been so bright, only music now appears appallingly bleak. She's trying to be brave, and Matt comprehends suddenly. She's trying to be brave because Tai can't right now. It is not that she doesn't care or she wants him to remain in the state he is in forever. But she is afraid for the moment, and when he does remember, he realizes that he is not the only one feeling guilty. I didn't mean to upset Taichi-senpai, Deo says, looking crestfallen. I just thought soccer might be good therapy for him. I don't understand. What happened? Maybe sometimes the mind may forget, but the body will remember. And what's with him freaking out about kicking a soccer ball? Davis. Izzy interrupted coolly. Maybe not all memories of soccer are good ones for him. Oh, sure. Remind me one of my favorite parts of Digimon. I love that part of the episode of Tai's backstory. There's a story behind that statement. Matt can tell, and for 1 second he's annoyed at Izzy for knowing it and not him. Then feels chagrin when he realizes that Izzy would probably have never hurt Tai the way he has. Sora places what should have been a comforting hand on his shoulder, but all it does is remind him of what he's stolen from his friend. And in a way, Matt thinks, it may be a blessing that Tai has lost his memories. Chapter 3. Pause. Kairi catches him looking at the picture from their first adventure in the digital world 3 years ago. The one Andromon had taken in Primary Village, where everyone is posing with their Digimon, and with Ogremon, Satoromon, and Genai riding on Mechanoromon, who are standing right behind them. She doesn't know where he found it. She thought she had hidden all the photographs containing Digimon safely away. For a moment she panics, then dares to hope that some small sliver of a memory comes back to him for the visual. But Tai only hands the picture back to her with a quiet statement of, "It looks like I had fun at this festival. The costumes are incredible." Kairi realizes that even if the sight of Akamon doesn't jar his memory, then nothing ever will. She watches in horror as her brother plunges through the empty space. It's over so quickly. She doesn't even have a chance to scream. Tai lies motionless on the ground, so very far below. A tiny ragdoll of a figure, limbs spread out at unnatural angles, and a puddle of red liquid pooling around his head. Only then does a heart-wrenching wail tear itself free from her throat. She doesn't know there are so many different forms of amnesia, until the doctors try and figure out which type her brother has. They finally diagnose him with retrograde post-traumatic amnesia, which they explain means he lost his pre-existing memories due to a harsh head injury. He'll finally be able to form new memories that occur after the accident. However, he'll be unable to recall his life from before. Well, if cartoons have taught me anything, is that another good head in the head is perfectly A-OK. Somebody get me my mallet. The doctors also share with her family that his declarative memory had been impaired. That means while Tai may have forgotten who he is in personal episodes, his mind still remembers how to do certain skills, hence him being able to play soccer. They are told not to be disheartened, that most amnesia victims suffer only temporary memory loss, and that something familiar from the past usually trains their memories into returning. But it's been 4 months now, and despite all attempts of reacquainting him with his previous life, Tai's lost memories remain as obscure as ever. There's a terrible roaring cry. A war Greymon is falling from the sky in a blast of orange light. It is Koromon who paints heavily to the rocky floor and remains unmoving. And everyone is aware of the fact that it's never a good thing for their Digimon to de-digivolve in response to their partners. Tai smiles sometimes, but it's not the teasing, lopsided, one full of mystery he remembers. This one is calmer, more forced, as if he only smiles because he thinks it will make her less sad. Kairi wonders if he will still smile. What he remembers it is her who slowed him down long enough to not reach the top of the cliff and fall to his ruin. She's always holding him back like that. She's always being a burden to him. That time he had tried to teach her how to play soccer, and all she had done was get sick. That time he had tried to hide and protect her from Myelospawn, who was searching for her. She let herself be captured. That time when trying to defeat the Dark Masters as she had fallen ill again. She's never been strong enough to help him. She has always been causing him grief and worry. She thought that this time, with her D3 and a brand new way of digivolving, finally, one thing she could do that her brother can't, that she might be able to prove that she isn't weak. Then she slips that awful day on the cliff. She wants to climb down to him. She wants to climb down and make sure he's alive because he's so alarmingly still. And Koromon is lying only a few feet away. And why doesn't he get up and find out if his partner's alright? There are hands. Too many hands restraining her regardless of her struggles to escape. And voices that are too loud that make no sense buzzing around her. And all she could do is emit a long, drawn-out, piercing scream in an effort to block the sound of sinister laughing ringing overhead. Kairi finds the sibling roles being reversed. Whereas Tai had always been the one looking out for her, now she is the guardian and he is under her care. She tries to spend as much time with him as can, whether it is to play a simple board game or merely sitting beside him to watch a movie. Although most conversations they have center around homework or how her day was at school, at least they are talking. And sometimes, when he's had a particularly bad day, Tai asks her to tell him a story of an event he can't remember. She tends to stick to tales of when they were little, before the digital world, and rarely mentions the other Dizzy Destined. At least her brother has grown accustomed to her presence, and it has almost become normal to converse about absolutely nothing with someone he's seen every day for the past 4 months, and for her still to be a perfect stranger in the end. The Digimon who attacked him out of nowhere has fled. She should be worried about letting such a strong level, clearly psychotic Digimon free reign in the digital world to cause chaos where it had come from in the first place. She should be concerned about poor Koromon doing the rest of the Digimon claim have gone into a frozen state. But she can't form into any rational thoughts other than pleading to anyone who might be listening to please let her brother live. It all comes to a head one day when Tai stumbles upon Gatomon in her room. Kairi has sent her Digimon to stay over at Yoli's ever since her brother had come home from the hospital. But she doesn't want to alarm him, or give leeway to questions she can't answer. She doesn't like getting things from Tai, or being separated from Gatomon for so long, but Gatomon solves this problem by visiting her every day in the late afternoon. Tai is usually taking a bath or a nap at that time. Kairi and Gatomon are so caught up in their conversations that you don't hear footsteps lead to the door open until it's already open and Tai is standing there, gaping the scene in front of him. "We got another cat?" he asks, running an eye over Gatomon's feline features. "She's so adorable!" Gatomon bristles at that. She may have been a cat Digimon, but she dislikes being put in the same category as those mindless, human house cats. Kairi gave her a warning nudge in the back, so biting down her pride, she lowers herself on all fours and lets out a very irritated meow. Kairi thinks the deception is going well, and starts to relax until the next words out of her brother's mouth prove that while he may have lost his memories, his oftentimes rash personality is still there, buried deep within him. It's kind of like what I said when I was watching that Digimon and Pokemon Death Battle. There was a reason why why Charizard was going to lose that fight, and that reason was Ty. Just Ty. We all knew he was going to do that. Did we buy into breed with Miko and sell their kittens? And nothing, come hell or high water, is going to stop Gatomon from replying to that blatant insult. I wouldn't put one paw near that mindless flea-infested feline unless it has a death wish. It will do the same. Gatomon! Kari hisses, but the damage has been dealt. It talks! Tai says, eyes wide. Kairi wonders if he will ever believe her, as he tells Gatomon is a human-made, highly advanced creature, only available on the market to select people. Well, it is true. Sort of. Like, Kairi, I got an idea. Tai, congratulations. Your sister is a ventriloquist. But before she could form words, her brother has stepped over to Gatomon, whose fur is ruffled. Ears are back and glaring at him. And to her horror, does the one thing all cats hate the most. Is that a real cat, or is it a toy with a voice box? How do you change its phrases? Tai inquires curiously, yanking on the tough end of Gatomon's striped tail. Gatomon yowls out more of wounded dignity than actual pain, and slices at him with her claws out of pure instinct, only pulling back at the last second once he remembers he is human, so the end result isn't a deep gasp, but more like 3 fine paper cuts. It's almost comical. Tai's stunned expression, as it dawns on him he just ticked off a real live cat. A real life talking cat? What? Guys, give me a break. This is all the only material I got. Everything else about this story is just so, dark and serious. I got nothing. He stands there a moment in shock. The tiny bits of blood ooze out of the claw marks and blazed on his face. Gatomon, how could you? Kairi exclaims, leaping to her face and rushing over to Tai and dabbing at the lacerations with some tissues from her nightstands. I'm sorry, Gatomon cries, looking extremely repentant. I didn't mean... Go to Yoli's! Now! Kairi orders angrily. Gatomon's ears are laid flat against her head in shame as he turns without another word and leads her out the open window and into the evening. Kairi feels immediately guilty. She knows Gatomon hadn't mean to last out. Years of constantly being on guard, as Myotismon's henchman is bound to leave its mark in more ways than one. Tell me about it. I still remember how she talked about how badly her claws were. And she showed them. She'll phone Elise later and apologize. Right now, she had a lot of explaining to do. Ty's still unconscious, and Coromon remains in a frozen state. Which may be a good thing, because if either one was awake, they would be annoyingly hysterical for their partner. But Ty needs medical attention and fast, Joe says, and the older Digimon promise to look over Coromon, so they can return to the real world, and Kairi is dismayed to see that her brother's injuries have transcended along them. She had hoped he would simply vanish like Davis, Yali, and Cody's outfits. And she doesn't rest, not even after the doctors declare his condition has stabilized after all the surgeries. She can't. Not until Ty wakes up and says he forgives her. But when he finally opens his eyes, a whole new nightmare begins. Kairi finds herself sharing with her brother about Digimon, the digital world, and how they were chosen as Digi-destined, their quests and their adventures. She tells him that he wasn't hit by a car, but had an accident in the digital world. She doesn't clarify the circumstances or how it happened, though, and Tai doesn't press for more details, which he is extremely thankful. When she is done, she waits, half excited, half dreading his response to her for withholding this vital information for so long. But she never dreams what his next request will be. Can I go there? He asks, his tone sounding almost wistful. It's a perfectly logical question, and it stands to reason that Ty's memories may return if he's physically present in the world which took them from him. But Kairi is seized by a terrible fear that if he goes back to the digital world, something horrible will happen to him again, and this time he might not survive. And she doesn't want to ever know the pain that Ken has undergone of losing a brother. And so, she shows him his old Digivice and her new model, and explains the gate only opens in response to a D3, and that they only travel to the digital world when a need arises, and purposely leaves out the occasional holidays and picnics they have there. Tai believes her without argument, as she leads him without sitting on his bed, running his fingers over his Digivice and staring at it utterly entranced. He makes her way over to the phone to call Yali. He resolutely shuts out any shred of hope in her mind that her brother will remember anything beyond being told these new facts. She can't breathe. Her brother can't remember her, and she can't breathe. So, she can't breathe then. Ow! Someone is ripping away her hold on Ty's gown, and the room is spinning. She hears a labored whistling and realizes that it's her, and an oxygen mask is being placed over her mouth, and she tries to tear it off. It was Shirley. Shirley, she calls out her name again. Ty will remember her. But someone is pinning her hands to her sides, and all she can do is leak helpless tears out of the corners of her eyes and be confronted with the cruel reality of how very weak she is. If anyone had dared plucked up the courage to ask Ty what having no memories is like, he would have told him it's like waking up in a sea of fog and having no sense of direction. All he could do is stumble forward blindly to try and find some way out of it. But no matter where he turns, he is faced with a thick fog of white nothingness. But he thinks the worst part of having no memories is that he can't remember anything. It is the people coming up to him and acting like he should know them on sight and greeting him so familiarly. It is embarrassing and stressful, especially when they seem to be waiting for him to do something his past self had formed a habit of. It's disorienting enough to wake up and realize he has no recollection of who he is, Ty thinks. But it is overwhelming to have someone shouting a name and then relation to him, and to have that example done over a dozen more times by others. Still, he thinks he has gotten along quite well, despite this recently acquired handicap. After all, if you can't remember anything, then you don't know what you are missing out on. Or at least, his physical injuries have healed. Until the day they go to the soccer field, and his body acts of his own volition, and suddenly starts pounding away on the inside of his skull, struggling to break free. And Ty knows he must not allow it to, because whatever it is, it has a sense of fear and dread about it. Then, just when he thinks he could have gone back to normal, he learns his sister has had a talking cat for a friend, and apparently has been shielding a part of his past life from him. This story should have been hard to swallow, since most of it seems pretty incredible to be true. Being sucked into a different dimension, where more talking monsters, saving their world in a real one. But he can't remember most things. For all he knows, hopping universes may be a perfectly normal occurrence in society. Plus, there are photographs and a strange device called his Digivice as proof. And if he still had any lingering doubts, the visible claw marks from his close encounter with one of the talking monsters is more than enough to convince him that everything told is true. Kari's been acting rather strangely ever since he had shared this information with him, though. He wonders if she is expecting him to suddenly remember everything at any given moment. And this makes him uneasy. He hasn't really reacquainted himself with anyone outside his immediate family over the span of 4 months. Those other kids, the rest of the Digidestined it seemed, had tried to strike up a friendship again initially. But their visits have been far and few ever since that day at the soccer field. Ty realizes they don't care about him per se, the person he is at the present, but rather, they want their friend back that they know. His former self which remains ever so elusive, and it feels like a rejected apple thrown back into a barrel. And he knows Kairi hasn't begun to falter her mindset, because so far, she has only been a stable, secure thing in his life. He takes a joy in discovering what he can remember to do. For instance, he knows he's able to play soccer, though he hasn't attempted to since the one time he kicked the ball. He has to learn the rules of Monopoly and Clue again. Finds that they can play checkers without a hitch. He knows that they can make an omelet, but has to be shown how to work a microwave. He likes routine and order. They're familiar and unchanging. And he likes knowing that there's something constant in his life. That's why his already fragile world is shattered one day, when his parents are still out, and Daikari comes up to him with a fevered, declared glint in her eye and calmly states, I'm going back to sell this. I'll make things better. I promise. There's a duffel bag hanging over her one shoulder. She's clutching her D3 in one hand. And Tai knows without her telling her where she is heading, but doesn't understand her cryptic words. Why is she going there right now? It's almost 4, the time when they have their afternoon snacks. Daikari has said that she's going to t-ball today, but he's too dumbfounded to say anything, and her arms are wrapping around him in a gentle hug as she whispers her goodbye. Then she is gone, and he is alone. Alone, alone, alone. And he can't be alone, because it's an aching realization that he's not needed, and what he has done to be deserted like this. Being left alone, as if he can only remember. But his memories are gone. They have fled from him as well. The apartment seems so incredibly large and empty, and the quiet is stifling, only to be broken by the sound of hanging wind chimes on the balcony, resounding dully against each other like the chorus of mournful sighs. A nameless fear brushes at the inside of his head, and all he can do is go to his room, take shelter under the covers like a child, hiding from unseen monsters, and shadows that dance eerily around the walls from the darkening clouds outside. Tai isn't sure how much time has passed. It may have been 10 minutes. It may have been an hour. He's called out Kairi's name numerous times now, but the only answer he gets in response is the faint blowing of the wind outside. If he concentrates hard enough, he can almost pick up a chanted mantra. Tai Chi, Tai Chi, Tai Chi. And it's a completely crazy thought, but he imagines his lost memories beckoning for him to come to find him. The shrill ringing of the phone breaks him out of his delirious reverie, and numbly, as if in a sleepwalking daze, he untangles himself from the covers and pans out of the room to pick it up, where it hangs from the hallway wall. From his viewpoint, he can see outside the sliding door glass to the darkening clouds gathering as a storm brews. Hello? Lightning streaks across the darkened sky, a white-hot flash of electricity. Hello? Says a young male sound voice, pausing for a moment. Tai? Is that you? Clearly, whoever it is, hadn't been expecting him to be the one to answer. But they must know since they recognize his voice. Tai nods before he remembers that the person on the other hand can't see him. Yes, he says. Oh, well, hi. Nice to hear you for so long. The voice says in a fake, cheerful manner. This is TK. TK. Tai recalls him as one of the Digidestined, but there are far too many faces to place with a name. He can't trick of who is who, so he remains silent. I was wondering, could I talk to Kairi? TK asks hesitantly. Thunder booms up above, and the whole building shakes as if a giant has rested his foot on top of it. Can't, Tai rasps out. She's gone back to sell things. What? TK says, not understanding. She took her D3 with her. I didn't see Gatomon, but she probably met up with her. Tai explains, like it's perfectly normal for him to know this information. You know about Gatomon and the D3s? You remember things now? TK sputters. Wait, are you saying that Kairi's gone to the digital world by herself? Kairi told me about it. Tai says, she says she wants to make things better. But what? You mean she went back to I gotta go! TK declares, sounding panicked before the line goes dead when he hangs up. Tai remains standing there with the phone still held to his ear, listening to the dial tone like it is a soothing lullaby. The blackened heavens break open and unleash a furious onslaught of rain upon the earth below. The wind has escalated to a fierce howling, which rattles the doors and windows as if trying to seek entrance, and his chanting has not ceased. Tai Chi, Tai Chi, Tai Chi. A red dot appears on the screen of the device, called its Digivice, and begins to beep steadily. Matt can honestly say this has to be one of the worst days of his entire life. He can't just label it as the worst day, because he has far too many of them. The day his parents split up and separated him and his brother. Those many dark days in the Digi world where he felt like he wasn't worthy of the crest of friendship. When he hadn't almost made it in time to save Tai from Paimon's visiting blow. The day on the cliff when he hadn't reached him in time. The day Tai woke up and couldn't recall his own name. And finally today, when Sora had succeeded in cornering him to demand an answer on why he had been avoiding her for so long. "Do you want to break up with me, Matt? Is that it?" she asked in a hurt tone. "No!" Matt yelps before he realizes he had time to think, and he feels awful. My God, he hadn't realized that Tai had liked her in that way and he had never felt so surprised or happy when Sora had confessed to him. And Tai had been so supportive and enjoyed teasing him and acted like nothing was wrong. It must have been agony for him every day, and now Matt knows this, and the guilt is eating him alive, because he still loves her, and still wants to keep her from all of himself in spite of this. It's so incredibly selfish. So all he could do is try to avoid her, but the inevitable confrontation has come at last. "Then what is it? You don't call me or talk to me anymore. What am I supposed to think?" Sora cries, frustrated. "Just tell me what's wrong." Tai. Matt croaks out, and Sora's expression softens. "Oh, Matt, you can't keep blaming yourself for that," she says, touching his arm gently. "If it was anyone's fault, it was that Digimon's—" "You don't get it, do you?" Matt says, shaking off her hand and running a weary hand over his face, as he realizes he can tell her. Did you know that Tai liked you?" A stony mask has settled over Sora's face, as she narrows her eyes and sets her mouth in a tight line. "What are you talking about?" she says, clearly irritated at this flow topic. "Did you ever like him?" Matt questions. He was thinking back. He realized he has close to two had been. But he can't discern if it was mere friendship or feelings of attraction. "Matt, stop. This is ridiculous." Sora commands Haley. "Yes, I had a crush on him back when we were kids, alright? But he obviously never felt the same way, and I don't know where you're getting these wild ideas, or why we're even talking about this. I love you! Did you see his face on that cliff wall?" Matt interrupts. "You were right there behind me. Did you see his face when he reached for me instead? I wasn't even the one in danger of falling." He hears a sharp intake of breath, and he turns around, and Sora has a horror-stricken expression imprinted on her countenance. All the color flooded from her cheeks. "Oh my God, is that... She trails off, unable to voice the words. "He didn't take my hand," Matt says. He's so relieved to be able to share this terrible secret with someone. "I tried to reach him, but he didn't take my hand, because he saw you reaching for me." They stand down in silence for several long minutes, the world seeming to have stopped with this newfound revelation. Then Matt's cell phone goes off with TK's ringtone. It's Here We Go. I keep telling you, I got no material left for this. Ty's running down the sidewalks and puddles through the pouring rain. His house slippers are drenched, and he is soaked to the bone in his thin sweatpants, t-shirt, and light jacket. He's running, Digivice clenched tight in hand. He's running, and he doesn't know where. He finds that his feet have led him straight to the soccer field. The Digi Destined are having a very intense game of phone tag. "What do you mean Kari's gone to the Digital world for herself? That Psycho Digimon's still on the loose! Call me back! Pronto, TJ!" "This is Yoli. I can't find Gatomon anywhere. Let's hope she's with Kari." "Should someone check up on Tai? I mean, he must be feeling overwhelmed by all this." We could do that later. He'll be safe here. We'll have more pressing priorities at stake. Cody, this is Izzy. Tell your parents you're going over to my home for a study session. Then head over to the school. Mine will cover for you. I just hope Kyrie doesn't get caught in a storm. It's a total hair dampener. Just bring it. I'm Bellamini. Yoli, this is Joe. Make sure to bring some food supplies and a first aid kit from your store. We don't know what might happen over there. TK, this is Yoli. Ken says he'll meet up with all of us in the digital world. He can get there faster from his computer. That's great. He can have a head start on finding her before someone else does. Why have you called me back yet, T-Pay? You jerk! Tai stands in the middle of the waterlogged field and wonders what he's doing there. He has the sudden urge to throw back his head and laugh hysterically at nothing. So he does. Feels the coldness of raindrops as they tickle down his throat, letting himself fall backwards. He lies on the wet grass with his limbs spread out and stares vacantly up at the sky, now a more mild gray as the rain lightens up. He can no longer hear his name being chanted on the wind. There is a large possibility that I've gone mad, Tai thinks, and he turns his head sideways to glance at the still beeping digivice grasped in his hand. A few feet away, the air reverberates like the surface of the road in summer heat. Tai sits up and stares at the empty space, wondering if it's a mirage. The air shimmers briefly again, and a creeping mist starts to fan out. His digivice begins to beat more frantically in response. Tai extends one hand into the mist to see what will happen, and watches in fascination as the front half disappears. He pulls it back completely whole, unharmed, and realizes what a sudden thrill he had found. A gateway into the digital world. Gatamon doesn't like it when Kairi gets this strong. It is living proof that she is every bit as rash and foolish as her brother sometimes. She doesn't see any good outcome of going to the digital world with only two of them. But she can't let Kairi go by herself, which her partner had threatened to do. She still feels guilty over accidentally attacking Tai. So against her better judgment, she accompanies her and takes her to the destination she has in mind. Kairi, let's go back, please. She tries to reason her. If you must face this Digimon, we'll do it with everyone else as a team and bring it down. How do you even know it'll come here again? Because to it, this is a game, Kairi says in a voice that holds no fear, like she had when she stood up to Myosmon. An ardent, defiant tone, and I have chosen to play. And Gatamon can only hope the others will arrive in time to stop this madness. Tai wonders if the digital world always kept the same weather, or it changes like the real world. In any case, he isn't complaining. The sun is blazing warmly overhead, and his clothes are damply suffocating as he trudges through the tropical-type rainforest. His slippers squishing soggily with every step. It's almost like being on vacation, and Tai resists the drive to lie down under a tree in the refreshing shade of being lulled to sleep by the melodious, exotic, what surely must be birds, or bird Digimon songs. He can't really relax anyway. There's a strange sort of pressure on his head. Something he thinks he should remember but can't. It feels like a stony weight loading him down, and with unintelligible demand. He thinks he knows what it is, though. The reason for coming here. He follows the red blips on his digivice obediently, which are going off at fast-paced intervals. And watch for how many miles he doesn't keep track of, until at last the continuous beeping comes to a halt, finds himself looking down what resembles a round pink head. Tai scans for the rest of its body, but he doesn't see it, and wonders if this is a Digimon also. Looks like it's asleep with his eyes closed, but there is no movement of breath coming from it. Then wonders if it is dead. Can Digimon die? Kairi hadn't been very specific with the details. He feels a horrible pang in his chest, and the thought it might gaze down upon it. Pitifully, because if it had died, it done so all alone. Alone like him. Before he can stop himself, Tai has stretched out his free hand and placed it on top of the Digimon right between its streaming ears. And the round, pink head stirs, opens red eyes, and smiles a cheesy grin at him. Hi, Tai. Tai supposes in hindsight anyone else might have screamed over or fallen in fright. The fact that notion to do so seems oddly familiar. But he feels like he's been spellbound and unable to make any emotions. Who are you? How do you know me? He asks. Feels like something's chiseling away at the inside of his skull. He waits for shock and disbelief to crowd the pink head's face. That's the typical response of everyone he used to know who learns firsthand of his amnesia. But the pink head doesn't gape at him in horror. It doesn't even appear at all surprised. It Just smiles at him happily, as if contented with his mere presence. My name's Koromon, it tells him. We're partners. My name's Koromon, and we're partners. His head's beginning to hurt. Partners? Tai replays, and recalls Kairi explaining how each Digimon Destin had a Digimon who were their partner. But the one who had pointed it out as his in the picture had been an orange, dinosaur-looking creature, not this pink head. Have you people ever realized that Digimon's evolution makes no sense? I'm sorry, I don't remember you. That's alright, Tai. We're together now. The big head, Koromon says. You've kept me waiting. Waiting? Tai repeats. I've been waiting for you to wake me up. I couldn't do it on my own. Not until we're ready. Koromon states. It doesn't matter if you can't remember me. We'll just make new memories together. You're still you, after all. I'm still me? Tai echoes, and the words strike a heartwarming chord within him, because no one, not even his sister, had claimed that his memories were of no concern to him. That's right, Tai. You're still in there somewhere. You just haven't found yourself yet. It's like when I digivolved into Greymon. I may change a little, but I'm still the same person. So, I need to digivolve? Tai asks, drawing a conclusion. The little creature doesn't laugh at his obviously deluded sense of logic. That's what you think will help you, it says. The lock buried within his mind breaks wide open. Tai stands paralyzed in place for a while, like someone having one of those out-of-body experiences. As if there's a tiny, distant other Tai looking down at the real one below. What? Are you finally feeling sorry for yourself? Someone says behind him in this bizarre existence out of space and time. Tai turns around startled as someone standing behind him. Someone wearing a blue shirt with twin orange stars on his shoulders, cargo shorts and white gloves on his hands. A familiar pair of plastic goggles over a blue headband hold up the wild, untamed hair. His brown eyes are gleaming with a passionate fervor, and they hold some kind of knowledge Tai no longer has. Tai stares at the reflection of his 11-year-old self in wonderment. What you're doing is despicable, Tai says, not bothering to conceal his disgust. What I'm doing? Tai asks as he's feeling on the verge of falling. Falling over a cliff. A cliff. Can't possibly be me. I would never let myself become so weak, his younger self states, pointing an accusing gloved finger at him. So hurry and snap out of it! The world spins out of focus as Tai collapses to his knees, bowled over by a tidal wave of memories.